Welcome back, McFly subscribers. We're starting a new series for the month of October on caddis dry flies. And to start this series today, we're tying the Elk Hair Caddis, one of the most popular and effective dry flies ever created. Now I will discuss this fly further in the video, as I'm sure you all want to get started tying right away. But in case you haven't seen this channel before, this is McFly Angler.
Starts now.
Okay, let's start tying. Place the hook securely in your vise. For a hook, I'm using Risen's Dry Fly 100 in size 14. This is a standard length, barbless dry fly hook. We will also need some thread, and today I'm using Viva's 10-aught in brown. This is a thin and flat thread, but it is strong enough for what we need to do with it. Let's start our thread 2 hook eye lengths back from the hook eye and snip or snap off the waist. Then bring your thread down to the start of the hook bend, and then back up to the initial tie-in spot. This will form a thread base. Now we need some very fine wire, and I have this extra small ultra thin wire in gold. Pull off 2 to 3 wraps of wire and then break it off, which is quite easy to do with your fingers. Tie this in on top of the hook and pull back the tip so it's not sticking out too far. Try to keep that hook shank bare there. Then make wraps down to the hook bend, securing the wire as you go. Now for some dubbing. I'm using Antron dubbing today in this ginger variant color, but you can use dry fly dubbing like this fine and dry, which will dub on a little bit easier and create a finer, compact body. Antron, on the other hand, will make a more buggy looking body, since it won't dub on super fine. Okay, let's pull off about this much. We don't need a lot, but we do need enough to cover the whole hook shank. Dub this onto your thread, forming a compact and tight dubbing noodle. I also like to taper this noodle, making it thicker towards the back than the tip. Okay, let's unwrap a few wraps since it's hard to get the dubbing noodle right up against the hook shank. This will allow us to wrap back a few times on bare thread before the noodle takes effect. Now let's form a slightly tapered body on this fly, but don't go all the way up to the hook eye. Stop about at the initial tie-in spot. Now we need some hackle, and I have this beautiful dark ginger cape that is almost a Cree, but without the Cree pricing. You can use whatever color you want, like brown, which is mixed in here, or olive, black, grizzly, etc. Now we need a feather that is one size down from what the hook is. This is a size 14 hook, so I'm looking for a size 16 hackle. You can use a hackle gauge like this here, or just spin it around your hook to see if it will be the right size. Now you can see here, this hackle just barely comes up to the 16 measurement, so it's perfect and what I will use. Let's prepare this for tie-in. Strip off all the fiber down near the base of the feather that is a little bit longer, but when looking down on the feather like this, make sure you strip off slightly less from the bottom side, as it will help to wind this on the right direction. Then cut off the stem, leaving a little bit to tie in. Tie this in with an X-wrap over the feather like so, and then tighten it. Now start to wrap the tag end up the hook shank, but make sure you cut the tag end so it's not sticking past the hook eye. Then continue tying the tag end up with smooth wraps, then bring your thread back down to right in front of the hackle. This will hold the hackle in very tight, keeping it from pulling out. Now let's grab some hackle pliers and grasp the tip of the hackle. Then start wrapping the hackle down the hook shank, making one wrap right at the tie-in point. Then start making open spiral wraps down the hook shank until you reach the end of the dubbing body. Grab the wire and capture the hackle with it. And once captured, then you can take the hackle pliers off the hackle and let go of the hackle. Continue wrapping the wire up the hook shank through the hackle, and it helps to wiggle the wire while you wrap to keep it from trapping as many hackle fibers. Once you reach up past the hackle, then capture the wire with a couple wraps, fold the wire rearward, and wrap back up onto it. Then you can simply break off the wire with a firm tug. Now for the wing, and for that we need some elk or deer hair. Originally this was tied with elk hair, hence the name of the fly, but I find deer hair to be a bit finer, and in my opinion makes the fly look a little better. This is an all-purpose natural mule deer hair, which is a light tan color. Deer hair does come in many other colors also, so you can tie it whatever way you want. Here's a yellow Primo deer hair swatch and a brown, but get creative and tie these in whatever color you want. We will also need a stacker and some scissors, like these razor scissors from Risen Fly. Now the stacker I'm using is a small stacker. They do come larger, which could work, but the smaller stacker helps to gather the fibers a bit tighter. But you can use the larger stacker though, if it's all you have. Let's separate out a couple dozen fibers from the swatch and cut them off. Now it's hard to explain exactly how much you need, but here is a visual representation. The more you tie, the better you will get at knowing exactly how much fiber you need. Okay, let's prepare this fiber. First, pinch the tips of the fiber and then pull out the underfur. You might need a comb to help get all that underfur out. Then stick this into your stacker with the tips down and give the stacker a couple firm taps on your tying desk. When you pull out the hair, the tips will be squared off. Let's measure this hair so it extends out about to the back of the hook bend, maybe slightly past. Then transfer that measurement to your other hand. Oops, I lost a couple fibers, but that's okay. Then cut off the butt end square like this. Place the hair on top of the hook shank so it's touching the hook, and the tips aren't extending past the hook eye. Now I have one here that got moved, so I'm removing it. Now make 2 light wraps about a hook eye back from the hook eye. Then cinch down tight, which will flare out the tips, giving you a nice rounded head on the fly. Now start winding up through that newly formed head, cinching down with each wrap. This will help keep the wing from spinning on the hook. Just like the head flared, the back wing will as well if we just let go. To help tame down that wing, let's make a couple loose wraps behind the initial tie-in spot up onto the wing. Then bring the thread back down to right behind the flared head before whip finishing over everything. Now, if you whip finish from back to front, it will help push some of the head fibers forward, which I feel makes the head look a little bit better. Also, don't forget to remove the hackle tag end, and you can just snap it off since it's being held down with the wire. So sometimes a few of the wing fibers get pushed down into the body, which is totally fine, but I like to remove them to make the fly look a little bit cleaner. Now most people like these wings to stick up like this, as it does make it easier to see when fishing. However, caddis wings do not do this. So I like to make sure that these wings are laying down a little bit more, and I have a little trick to assist in laying these down. That trick is Solarez Ultra Thin Resin. So paint a little over the whip finish, all the way around, then lay the fibers down while curing the resin into place. This not only cements the whip finish, making the fly more durable, but when you let go, you will see the back wing laying down, more naturally representing a caddis. And when looking at it from underneath, you can really see how this perfectly represents an adult caddis. And there we go, the finished elk hair caddis. Well, I guess you could call it a deer hair caddis, since I use deer hair. However, it's the same outcome. And you don't have to go and buy special elk hair to make this fly. In fact, the finer hair of deer hair, I think makes this fly come out looking a little bit nicer. These are super quick and rather easy to tie once you get the hang of tying them. And they're also extremely effective and float extremely well. And these are the reasons why it's one of the most popular dry flies ever. You will not find a fly shop in America that doesn't carry these, or a dry fly box without at least a couple of them. These work for so many different species as well. The obvious would be trout, especially during caddis hatches, but also a black version is probably one of my favorite dry flies to fish for sunfish. And here's a black one I tied with a red wire to give some extra accents. Here's a yellow bodied one I tied, and I used a fine and dry dubbing, which gives a smoother looking body. Okay, well we just started this series, and with 4 more patterns to go. Now if you guys like to fish for saltwater fish as well, you should check out last month's series on redfish flies, where I tied the redfish crack, McFly's foam shrimp, and crease fly, all of which work great for redfish and other saltwater fish, and bass as well. Next week I plan on continuing this caddis series with the Goddard caddis, one of the highest floating dry flies out there, great for skipping along the surface or fishing fast-moving riffles. So make sure you're subscribed and click the bell notification so you don't miss any future videos like this Goddard's caddis. By the way, I sell these fly boxes on Amazon with free shipping. They're thin enough to fit in most shirt pockets, or fit multiple boxes in a chest pack so you can organize your boxes by fly type. They're waterproof, which means your flies won't get wet and rust until you fish with them. And the magnetic back compartments are strong as well, meaning the flies won't come out accidentally. See, I can even turn this upside down and shake the box, yet all the flies stay put. And this really helps when it's windy outside, so your dry flies won't go flying down the river when the wind blows. I will link below to my Amazon storefront if you're interested in picking up these boxes. Also, don't forget to check out my sponsor, Risen Fly. They made the hooks I use today, but they also make some of the best fly rods and reels for the money I have ever used. Best off, they're offering you all a discount. So if you're in the market for a new rod or a bunch of hooks or beads, go to www.risenfly.com and type in McFly at checkout and they'll give you 15% off of your first order with them. Thank you all so much for watching. If you like this video, do me a favor and click the like button to let me know. Also, if you could share my videos with all your fishing friends, I would really appreciate it. I will see you on the next video. Now you go catch some fish.